Muscles or band of fibrous tissues that has the ability to contract or producing movement to a body. A primarily function as a source of power through contractions and erections. According to study, human body contains around 650 individual muscles which provide pulling power so that human can move around. And did you know that muscles constitute about 40% to our total body weight? Please keep watching so you will know the different types and kinds of muscle fiber.
Guys, my name is Anthony A. Human Abi is one A student. I'm here to discuss what are the properties of muscle tissue. Before we tackle about what are the properties of muscle tissue, let's talk about what is the muscle tissue first.
Muscle tissue is composed of cells that have the special ability to shorten or contract in order to produce movement of the body parts.
Muscle tissue contains actin and myosin that are responsible for our movement or causes of our movement, like walking in the street, talking, pulling a foot, and something like that. There are four properties of muscle tissue. First, we have excitability. Second, we have contractility. Third, we have extensibility. And fourth, we have elasticity. Property of a muscle tissue that we are going to discuss first is the excitability. Excitability is the ability of a muscle cells to respond to an electrical impulse from a nervous system. Neurons send electrical signals to either they're going to send signals over themselves or they're going to send signals on the muscle cells. And the muscle cells has the ability to respond to it. And once they are excited by the nervous system, a biochemical reaction will occur within the cell and it causes a contraction, and that will lead us to our next property, contractility. Contractility is the ability of a muscle cell to shorten its length. So, what I said earlier, when the biochemical reaction occur within the cell, it causes the muscle to shorten its length. So the muscle cells has a certain length when they are at rest. So when the biochemical occurs, that will cause to the muscle cells to shorten. Of the muscle tissue that we're going to talk about is the extensibility. Extensibility is the ability of a muscle to be stretched beyond its length. And when it gets stretched, muscle tissue also has the ability to return or bounce back to its normal length. And that property is called, or that ability is called elasticity. Those properties that I've mentioned is only present in a muscle tissue. They are not present in any other type of tissue.
So today, now I have to share with you some information about functions of muscles. So first, before I answer the first question, I will answer what muscle means. Muscle is a contractile tissue grouped into coordinate systems of greater efficiency. So there are 5 main functions of muscular system, such as movement, support, protection, heat generation, and blood circulation. Number 1. Movement. Skeletal muscles fall on the bones, causing movements at the joints. Skeletal muscles fall on the soft tissues on the face, causing facial expressions. Movement caused by these respiratory muscles enable breathing. Number 2. Support. Muscles of the body will support the internal organs. As these muscles lose their tone, the internal organs of the abdominal pelvic cavity may bulge outward, as seen in some individuals as they age. Number 3. Protection. Skeletal muscles, particularly the body, will cushion the body's internal organs from force applied to the exterior of the body. Number 4. Heat generation. Heat is a waste product of muscles metabolism, which helps maintain an internal body temperature of 98.6 Fahrenheit. Shivering is a mechanism of the muscular system that generates heat to warm an overly cold body. Number 5. Blood circulation. Cardiac muscle aid pumping action of the heart by aiding blood circulation.
Good day to everyone. This is Jarek P. Arsalon of BSS 1A, and in this video, I'm gonna discuss about the structure of skeletal muscle. Did you know that there are 3 types of muscle tissue found in the human body, which is the skeletal, cardiac, and smooth muscle? So as I said earlier, I'm going to discuss about the skeletal muscle, so let's focus on it. So as you can see in the illustration, there is skeletal muscle that attach to bones and they help you move your body. And skeletal muscles contract on a voluntary basis via the somatic nervous system, allowing you to move your body at will. So what is somatic nervous system? It is a component of the peripheral nervous system associated with the voluntary control of the body movements. Skeletal muscle also serve an important functions such as supporting our posture when we are standing or walking, protecting our organs, and also producing heat when we are exercising, which helps the body maintain a proper temperature. So here's the structure of skeletal muscle. Each skeletal muscle is considered an organ, and it's made up of connective tissue layers, muscle fibers, blood vessels, and nerves. Skeletal muscle attached to the bones through tendons or through direct attachments. As you can see in the muscle illustration, you'll notice an outer part or outer layer of the connective tissue, which is the epimysium. Epi means upon or over, and mysium comes from a Greek word that simply means muscle. Therefore, the epimysium is the outer layer of connective tissue that is upon the entire muscle organ. Next, you'll notice that muscle fibers are bunched together into something called fascicles, which means bundles. And these fascicles are surrounded by connective tissue called perimysium. Peri means around, and again mysium refers to muscle. So the perimysium is around the fascicles that bundle up these muscle fibers. So now inside the fascicles, there's another connective tissue layer called the endomysium. Surrounds individual muscle cells. Endo means within. Now let's proceed at the individual muscle cells, which are called muscle fibers. These muscle fibers are long and cylindrical, and they contain several nuclei. These muscle fibers are wrapped in a cell membrane called the sarcolemma. Inside each muscle fiber, there are tiny rods called microfibrils, which are surrounded by sarcoplasm. Next is the three muscle compartments of thigh, which is the anterior, posterior, and medial compartment. So the first compartment is anterior. The anterior compartment of the leg is a fascial compartment of the lower limb. It contains muscle that produce dorsiflexion and participate in inversion and eversion of the foot. Second compartment is medial. The medial compartment of thigh is one of the fascial compartments of the thigh and contains the hip adductor muscles and the gracilis muscle. Last compartment is the posterior. The muscles in the posterior compartment of the thigh are collectively known as the hamstrings. They consist of the biceps femoris, cementidinosus, and semimembranosus, which form prominent tendons medially and laterally at the back of the knee. So those are the three compartments of thigh and the meaning of structure of skeletal muscle. That would be all. Thank you. And
Good day, everyone. I am the behavior of Muscular 1N. In this video, I am going to discuss the muscles architecture. So what is muscle architecture? Muscle architecture is the physical arrangement of muscles at the macroscopic level that determines a muscle's mechanical function. There are two types of fiber arrangement of the muscles. We have coronal fiber arrangement and uniform fiber arrangement. So let us discuss first the first type of fiber arrangement, which is the parallel fiber arrangement. So what is a parallel fiber arrangement? Parallel fiber arrangement, the particles are parallel to the low axis of the muscles. In the organs, there are 5 different shapes of parallel fiber arrangements. The first shape is visceral branching. Visceral muscles are arranged in a strap-like fashion to provide the greatest degree of strengthening. Thus, enables the muscles to produce quick and wide range of motion. The second shape is a strap sartorius. Sartorius is a low-strap muscle that originates from the upper medial surface of the tibia. This is also known as a biarticulate muscle. The third shape is inverted pectoralis minor. Pectoralis minor is a fun-shaped or triangular inverted muscle situated at the chest of the human body. The fourth shape is circular orbicularis. Circular orbicularis is an oblate circular muscle that surrounds the surface of the mouth and forms the majority of the lips. And the fifth shape is flat or external obliques. The flat external obliques is a paired muscle located on the lateral sides of the abdominal wall, along with the internal abdominal oblique. So those are the meanings and 5 different shapes of a parallel fiber arrangement. Now, let us discuss the second type of fiber arrangement, which is the uniform fiber arrangement. So, What is a uniform fiber arrangement? Uniform fiber arrangement is the fiber run reliably with respect to the central tendon running the length of the muscles. The shape is fiber-like because the fascicles are short and run at an angle to the length of the muscles. In your organs, there are two different shapes of uniform fiber arrangement. The first shape is lipid semi-membranous. Lipid is a fiber arranged obliquely and is heightened with an tendon only on one side in the manner of a fiber guarded on one side of a lipid muscle. The second shape is vertically gastroluminous. The vertebrae is the muscle that forms the main block of the palm tendon on the back of the lower limb. The third shape is vertebrate deltoid. Vertebrate muscles have fascicles that insert on multiple tendons anterior towards a common tendon, like vertical fingers converging on a central point. So those are the meaning and three different shapes of a uniform fiber arrangements.
Hi, good day everyone. I am Jeremy Matugas, students of BSc is 1A. I am here to tackle about my topic, which is two kinds of muscle fiber. There are two kinds of muscle fiber. One is fast-twitch muscle fiber or type 2 or white fiber. Second is slow-twitch muscle fiber or type 1 or red fiber. But before that, let's know about first what is muscle fiber. Skeletal muscle are made up of individual muscle fiber. Unlike muscles, not all muscles fiber are the same. Skeletal muscles contains both types of fiber, but the ratios can differ depending on a variety of functions, including muscle function. What is fast-twitch muscle fiber? Fast-twitch muscle fiber provide bigger and more powerful forces, but for shorter durations of fatigue quickly. They are more anaerobic with less blood supply, hence they are sometimes referred to as white fiber or type 2. What is slow-twitch muscle fiber? Slow-twitch muscle fiber are fatigue resistant and focus sustainable smaller movement and postural control. They contain more mitochondria and myoglobin and aerobic in nature compared to fast-twitch fibers. Slow-twitch fibers are also sometimes called type 1 or red fiber because of their blood supply.
Hello everyone, my name is Rolando Mintal and I will be discussing you about my assigned topic, which is the three types of muscle tissue. So these are the three types of muscle tissue, which are the skeletal muscle, cardiac muscle, and the smooth muscle, which are all vital or extremely important for movement. Muscle tissue is predominantly made up of muscle cell, and these are highly specialized for process called contraction, which what allows us for mobility or to move around. The three types of muscle tissue are quite different from their function, but there are some similarities in their structure, so let's go through them one at a time. Let's start with skeletal muscles because it's the most abundant type. So skeletal muscles are the muscles that cover the skeleton and give our body its general shape. The exact number of skeletal muscle is not precisely known, but it's thought to be over 650. These attach to bones directly or via connective tissue called tendons, and they are responsible for a variety of functions. Skeletal muscles produce voluntary movements, or the ones that are under control. So this includes simple movements like extending limbs, or more coordinated movements like running or swimming, and they achieve this by pulling on the bones of the skeleton. Our skeletal muscle also maintain our posture. So when you're sitting down and might feel as though you're totally relaxed, but in actuality, many of these muscles are constantly working by making small adjustments to maintain your precise body position. Skeletal muscle even forms a sphincter in the digestive or urinary tracts to allow for the control of action such as swallowing or urination. Beyond this function, they help us maintain optimal body temperature by releasing heat as a byproduct of muscle contraction. So what's make up of skeletal muscle? So we could see that skeletal muscle is different from smooth and cardiac muscle that we will examine later. Skeletal muscle cells are multinucleated. This means they have multiple nuclei. Cells called myoblasts, which have one nucleus each, fuse together to form a long cylindrical multinucleated cell called a muscle fiber. So let's move on to cardiac muscle. Cardiac means relating to the heart. So as one might guess, cardiac muscle are only found in the heart, and cardiac muscle cells are called cardiomyocytes. There is just one role for cardiac muscle, and that is to contract in order to push blood out of the heart to the rest of the body, which will supply tissues around the body with vital oxygen and nutrients. Cardiac muscle is similar to skeletal muscle in a sense that they also have a striped appearance, which due to being comprised of myofibrils and sarcomeres for contractility. However, cardiac muscle is different from skeletal muscle in other ways. Cardiac muscle cells are short branch cells, which is a structure that allows them to communicate with other cells, and they typically have one or two centrally located nuclei. Another thing that it is different from skeletal muscle is that we do not voluntarily contract the muscle in our heart, or meaning we are not conscious about it or it happens involuntarily. This means that our cardiac muscle is innervated by the autonomic nervous system, which regulates the speed with electrical stimuli are generated by the specialized cardiac muscle cell called the pacemaker cells. And lastly, let's look at the third type of muscle tissue known as the smooth muscle. Smooth muscle is found in the most of our organs, and it contracts to regulate many of our bodily function as we go about our daily business. Smooth muscle in blood vessel walls will contract or relax to regulate blood pressure and the distribution of blood toward the different organs. It is also present in our airways to allow more or less air to pass through. It contracts in the wall of our digestive tract to push food along. The smooth muscle in our bladder contracts to expel urine out of the body and has numerous functions in the reproductive system, including the contraction of the walls of the uterus to push a baby out of its mother during the childbirth. So similarly to cardiac muscle, smooth muscle is innervated by the autonomic nervous system, so it contracts and relaxes involuntarily. Smooth muscle cells also have a single centrally located nucleus, but they have a different shape than cardiomyocytes. The cells are short but spindle-shaped, which is referred to as
Mark Raymond Abad of BSA 1A. Role of muscle. In the performance of the motor scale, only the small portion of the potential movement capability of the musculoskeletal system is used. Origin versus insertion. Origin attachment closer to the middle of the body or more proximal, and this attachment usually border insertion. The attachment further from the middle of the more distant development, torque and muscle control of the create a movement through the development of torque. Torque is defined as a tendency of the force to produce rational about specific acid in the case of the muscle. A force generated in the muscle along the line is action of the force and applied to the bone, which cause a rational about the joint axis. The main function of the muscular system are as follows. Mobility. The muscular system main function is the allowing movement with muscle contribute the gross and fine movement. Gross movement refer to the largest coordination motion and including walking, running, swimming. Fine movement involves smaller movement such as writing, speaking, facial expression. The smaller skeletal muscles are usually responsible for this type of action. Most muscles have movement of the body is under position control. However, some movement of reflexive such as withdrawing a hand from a source of heat. Stability. Muscle tendon strength over joint and contribute to joint stability. Muscle tendon is the knee joint and shoulder joint are essential in stabilization. The core muscles are those in abdomen, back, and pelvis, and they also stabilize the body and assist on tasks such as lifting weight. Posture. Skeletal muscle help keep the body correct position when someone is sitting or standing. This is known as posture. Good posture. Release on strong flexibility muscle, stiff, weak, or tense muscle. Contribute to a poor and misalignment on or the body. Long term, bad posture leads to joint and muscle pain in the shoulder, back, neck, and elsewhere. Circulation. The heart is a muscle that pumps blood throughout the body. The movement of the heart is outside of conscious control and it contracts automatically when stimulated by electrical signal. Smooth muscle in the arteries and veins plays a crucial role in circulation of blood around the body. These muscles maintain blood pressure and circulation in event of blood loss or dehydration. Digestion. The muscular system also for movement within the body. For example, during digestion or urination. Smooth muscle in the gastrointestinal or G-trunk control decision. The G-trunk strength from the mouth to the anus. Food moves through the digestive system with a wave-like motion called peristalsis. Muscle in the walls of hollow organ contract and release to cause this movement, which pumps food through the esophagus into the stomach. The upper muscle in the stomach release to allow food to enter while the lower muscle makes food, particularly when stomach acid and enemies. The digested food move from the stomach to the intestines by fertility from the more muscle contract to pass the food out of the body as stool. Urination. The urinary system compares both smooth and skeletal muscle, including those in the leg, bladder, kidneys, penis or vagina, prostate, urethra. The muscle and nerves must work together to hold and release urine in the bladder. Urine problems, such as poor bladder control or retention of urine, are caused by damage to nerves and carry signals to muscles. Childbirth. Small muscle in the urine expand and contract during childbirth. The movement push the baby through the vagina, also the pelvic floor muscle. Help to guide the baby head down the birth canal. Vision. 6 skeletal muscle around the eye control its movement. These muscles work quickly and precipy and allow the eye to maintain a stabilized image. 2. Scan the surrounding area. 3. Track movement objects. If someone experiences damage to their eyes muscle, it compare the vision. Organ protection. Muscle in the trusco protect the internal organ at the front, side, and back of body. The bones of the spine and the ribs provides future protection. Muscle also protect the bones and organ of surrounding shock and reduce function in the joints. Temperature regulation. Maintain normal body temperature is an important function of the muscular system. Almost 85% of the heat person generate in their body comes from contracting muscle. When body heat flow below optimal level, the skeletal muscle increase their activity to make heat. Shivering is the one of the sample of mechanism. Muscle in the blood vessel also contract to maintain body heat. Body temperature can be brought back within normal range through relation of smooth muscle in the blood vessel. This action increase blood flow and release excess heat through the skin. Fun facts about muscular system. The muscle make up approximate 40% of total weight. The heart is the hardest worker muscle in the body. It pumps 5 quarts up per minute and 2,000 gallons daily. The gluteus maximum is the body's largest muscle. It is the buttocks of help human maintain an upright posture. 4. The ear contains the smallest muscle in body alongside the smallest bones. This muscle hold the inner ear together and are connected to the eardrum. 5. A muscle called the masseter in the jaw and is the strongest muscle by weight. It allows the teeth to close with force up to 55.
Muscle action. The process of muscle contraction is central to all fitness, strength, and sports training. Yet there are many aspects of this apparently well-known phenomenon that are not adequately understood even at a more popular level. For a start, even though muscles are stated to lengthen during eccentric conditions, muscles can only contract or relax. I have intentionally placed the term contract within the parentheses because scientists today consider that it is far more appropriate to refer to muscle action rather than muscle contraction. One of the reasons given for these preferences is that the active component of muscle, the actin-myosin system, appears to behave as a sliding filament model in which the adjacent actin-myosin muscle filaments slide in between one another.
Hi, my name is John Brian Trinidad from BSCS 1A. My topic for today is skeletal muscle distribution and their corresponding contents. Skeletal muscle is composed of muscle fibers, tissues, and connectives. And now I will tell some parts of the muscles, not all, kay damo kaayo ang muscles. First is the upper part which is the upper arm. Muna siyang deltoid. This is the bicep, and the tricep. Next is the forearm. Na yung sa kapart na rin nga tawag nga brachialis.
Brachioradialis.
Hindi ko pronounce, pero siya ang superficial na muscle sa forearm. Next is the fingers. Muna siyang mga thenar muscles. Then nata sa lower part kay damo kayo ang sa ibaw. Natay gitawag nga sa upper leg nga quadriceps, kung sa atong arm is bicep, ato sa leg quadricep. So nang quadricep na 4 parts, which is the rectus femoris, vastus lateralis, vastus medialis, and vastus intermedius. The gamit anig is for walking and something. And now is sa lower leg na itulo ka parts is gastrocnemius, muna siya ang bagtak, and the soleus, which is the marag pareha sa Achilles tendon. Ang Achilles tendon is marag ganing tendon na diha si Achilles gi pana. Now let's move on to the upper back. There are 3 types na akong search: the trapezius, the rhomboid major, and the levator scapula. Ang trapezius is for posture and movement, and the rhomboid major is to hold the scapula, and the levator scapula is to elevate the scapula. Ang scapula is the shoulder blade bone. Next is the lower back, which is the gluteus maximus, or lubot or hip. Ang gamit ani is to rotate the body or the hip. So mao to punta namoy na to na. And I thank you.